So this is January 2026, and this is the first of our monthly Mid-Career Lab community Q&A calls. And this month I didn't publicize this. I thought I'm just going to make this intimate within the community, send out the notices internally. We can all talk about what's going on in career. I'm going to do a little smattering of talk about thought leadership, the value of thought leadership, see how we can all apply this to further our position in a crowded career marketplace that is not doing us any favors. Um,
John, I just did a recording of my podcast, and the whole thought leadership, being viewed as an expert in a field, was something that we spent some time on. So it'll be interesting to overlay kind of some of your thoughts with what we covered.
Great. Well, let's start there. Tell us a little bit more about what you discussed and how that came up. And did you have a guest on?
I did. She was a career consultant, change consultant. My podcast is called People in Transition, and it's people, as it describes, college senior to first job, people between jobs, jobs to owning a business, jobs to retirement. And she was a brand marketing person for 12 or 13 years, and then kind of switched over and became a therapist, and really comes at it both from a business standpoint and a therapist standpoint, which is really kind of an interesting
Yeah.
perspective. Kind of covers the bases, and and one of her suggestions is for people who are looking for a job, but really all people, to be viewed in the marketplace as being that thought leader, being that expert. And she said that many people have this self-conscious perspective in terms of, if they put themselves out there, that they think they're bragging, or, what do I
Right.
really know in terms of that? And as a practical matter, as she said, and I thought this was really good, very simplistic but very powerful coaching, was that if you self-censor, you remove the opportunity for others to potentially learn from you. And so, in fact, by self-censoring, you're actually being, um, unkind, if you will,
Yes.
to our fellow
Yes.
workforce. And I
Yeah.
thought that was a very interesting way to look at this.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's I'm trying to think what that there's a quote, and I'm really blanking on the quote, but the essence is don't think small, and don't think of yourself as small.
Yeah.
And you don't know how you and your experience may impact someone else's um, idea or well-being. And so,
And John, if I could, she had another thought, which for some of us is something that we do struggle with. Many of us try to be perfectionists and believe that unless this thought that we're sharing is
mhm.
earth-shattering, then why would I put it out there? And the reality is that, as we all know, there are so many levels of, pick a topic, so many levels of that topic, in terms of expertise of people, that even if you think that it is somewhat simplistic, there's going to be people that it's comes across as being advanced, because they're just not there at that level yet. And so, being a perfectionist, thinking that you have to have some kind of groundbreaking idea or topic, again, isn't recognizing that people have all kinds of levels of understanding of that
Right,
topic.
right, absolutely. Um, And in that spirit, I really want to encourage. We have one, two, three, four. We have a handful of people who are on the call, but not on the call. So, because this is such a small group, because we're all friends, because this is an opportunity for us to meet one another, hang out a little bit, I would encourage everyone to get on camera. Patty, welcome. Good to see you. Um, Happy New
John,
Year. What's going on? What's going on in your world?
it's been a productive week, I would have to say. I have hit the reset button, 2026, Happy New Year. And I've taken a step back to look over the progress I've made last year and started to give myself credit for the things that I have done instead of feeling like I am not where I'm supposed to be.
Right.
So I've done a little bit more work. Doing reflection work and really journaled about the small little blessings that I've had and the progress I've made between last year and this year, where
Great.
I am exactly like a year ago and today. So
Great.
that has given me anchor to rest assured that I've done a lot. And thanks to you and the program, it does feel like I'm in a different place than where I was a year ago. It doesn't mean that it's finished. I'm here because I'm still looking for a job. And, but at least I feel very anchored compared to how I felt a month ago.
That's great. Congratulations on that. You bring up a really wonderful topic, which is the yearly review and the yearly plan. Um, I have certainly, I'm sure all of us have read about this for years. I'd be interested to see if anyone on the call actually does this, has done this with any discipline. I've tried this over the past couple of years. I looked at my plan from last January to this January. I'd say maybe I got 10% of the stuff done. A lot of changes, a lot of real directional shifts, which of course you can't kind of predict. So I had to kind of laugh at myself and decide to forgive myself for not sticking to some of these milestones. Uh, and I'm going to do it again because why not? It's certainly data and interesting to see how we all deal with this kind of thing. But I would be curious to hear if anyone else has experience with this idea of making the yearly plan and setting some intentions for the year. And it's not really about New Year's resolutions in that traditional sense. It really is, I think, going on a little bit of a deeper level about plans and changes that you want to make that are on perhaps a more fundamental level, but definitely some things you want to tick off the list, but greater intention. So, and I want to welcome Carla to the call, who's a new member of the community. Great to have you here. And I'm not sure who that gentleman is with the name of your phone on your thumbnail. I would ask you to please share who you are, so we all know who you are. And Godemy, great to see you as well. Thank you for being here. Yearly plans. Who's making them? Marty.
Well, just it's a really interesting thing to discuss, and thanks for bringing it up. Are you familiar with Samuel Beckett's Craps Last Tape?
I am. Yes.
Yeah, I mean that's a dark side to this,
Right.
but that kind of years ago when I saw it, it kind of inspired me. Said, "Oh yeah, why not?" So I started doing it yearly, and um, was doing it on cassette tapes like he was. That's what was happening back then. But
Right.
um, then it stopped after a few years. But
Right.
I don't know. I mean, it's um, how to make it a positive thing and not depressing and punishing.
Right.
I have I don't know if you may also, a big birthday coming up. Um,
They're at this point, they're all big.
yeah, but
Marty,
this seems like one of.
Marty, you mean 50?
Right. There we go.
Oh, thanks. That's sweet. No, not 60, not 70, 75. So
That's a piece of cake, man.
yeah, and I still can do whatever I want for now, so I better get on it. And so thinking about that and like getting, okay, things I want to do in my
Right,
life. Yeah.
right, right.
Uh,
Well, I would encourage you to start making some notes about it. And yeah, I think the reason that I never did it is because I didn't want to disappoint myself at the end of the year, right? But I
yeah.
think that looking beyond that, it is an indication. And I think like any, it's the old line, what gets measured gets managed. If you're not really following your stats, then you really don't know where you need to work. So
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea. I've kind of backed off a lot from the judgment and thought, okay, fine. So I only did 10% of what I thought I wanted to do. Maybe another 20% was bogus, but maybe there's some things there that I really would have wanted to have done, and maybe I'll do them this year. So
Yeah.
there's always another chance.
And I like what Patty said, count your blessings and pay attention to that.
Yeah.
Start
Tim,
with
did you want to weigh in? Were you raising your hand there? And thank you for changing your tag.
that.
You're good. Okay. Uh, so I want to bring it back, unless anyone's got anything to talk about regarding the annual planning in general. I'd like to bring it back to the idea of thought leadership. And as I said in the note, it is probably the most perplexing step, or the most perplexing recommendation that I make to people about exercising thought leadership, and uh, what I also call a professional brand, the idea that you want to stand up for what you stand for, and that this process really has a way of helping you center on the value that you deliver, that you stand for, that you want to offer to the world. And it has a kind of a synergistic effect. And I'm working with a client right now for whom the light bulb really went off on this. And this is a guy, senior marketing professional in a particular industry, who has been kind of hitting the ceiling on getting promoted to another rank. And what we've been talking about is how he can kind of remake his reputation around what he does, because he's being perceived as a kind of a jack of all trades. He's the guy that you bring in to execute on the marketing strategy. He's not the guy that is called upon to create the marketing strategy. And at some point in December, the light bulb went off, and he started putting together some of these notes, which became posts, which are becoming a newsletter. And it reads like a manifesto. And all of a sudden, this wisdom, this point of view that's been locked up inside him for so many years, that really is an accrual of all of these lessons that he's learned and experiences that he's had, it's now starting to come out. So the momentum is building fiercely, and it's really wonderful to see this happen for someone who's kind of scratching his head about what is this thought leadership all about. So, Sally.
So did this gentleman struggle to make himself visible in front of his superiors? So that was why he was not able to go forward?
No, it really, I think, had a lot to do with how he was talking about himself. And because he was justifiably proud of all of the achievements and the stuff that he had done, and the milestones and the deliverables, and the hockey stick results. And I think he just began over time, kind of was identifying with that aspect of his work. And because he was talking about himself that way and kind of listing all these accomplishments, I think people, and he was doing a lot of consulting. So people were saying, oh, well, we need that problem fixed. Let's bring him in to fix that problem. But that's all it was, right? And because there were so many things that he could do, he was kind of brought in as the jack of all trades. So, and that began to frustrate him because he felt like he wasn't developing any consistent traction with any given company, that he wasn't being really recognized for the additional value that he could bring. And I said to him, first of all, you got to slow down. You got to stop trying to impress people with everything that you can do. I think that's kind of established. You now have to change what you're talking about and how you're talking about all of this. And it was very difficult for him to initially uncouple from that reflexive pattern that he had developed for so long about here's who I am, here's how I talk about, here's how I pitch, right? And he actually had an opportunity to interview for a CMO position. And the deck was kind of stacked against him for political reasons because the CEO needed to appease his ownership, the ownership of the company, this kind of superstructure. They were looking for someone who had been a CMO before. So the chances of him actually getting it without having been a CMO were slim and none. But it was a great exercise for him to go in and interview in a different way. And obviously I wasn't in the room on the call, but I believe he took this to heart and really dialed it back, really talked less, asked more questions, understood that the reason to be in that room was to build the rapport with the CEO, and that really was the job of the CMO, was to really understand that CEO, build that relationship, and develop that partnership on that executive level. So that was a whole completely different way of looking at it. So I think a lot of these little dents in the old armor have borne fruit. So, I think when we're thinking about how we can engage as thought leaders, it's helpful to start deconstructing some of these structures that we have around ourselves, these mental constructs around who we are, what we do, and think a little bit more outside the box, as it were. Bob.
Yeah, I hear all of that. The reality, I think, sometimes is that there are some people that like to be executors. They're good at that. And thank goodness we have people like that. And they oftentimes get very handsomely paid. And so I would first make certain that, and I'm sure you did this, challenge the person. Are you sure you want to be that? Or are you getting the kind of satisfaction that you're looking for from a job standpoint by being that executor?
Yeah, no, I think that's a good question. I did ask him, so are you sure you want to be the CMO? Because the CMO who was brought in, with whom he's working and working well now, he's describing the role and what he's doing, and with a little bit of kind of cringe around what the guy is having to go through. And so we had a conversation about this and laughed a little bit about the ambition to be the CMO. And I think, the answer for him, and I think for a lot of us, is that the roles are often somewhat fluid and can be defined differently depending on the situation, the relationship with the report, with the supervisor. So I think it gave him an opportunity, though, to your point, to really think a little bit more in depth about what that role was and how he would execute that CMO role. What's his particular flavor of being a CMO? So that, again, I think fed into this inspiration that he's now really focused on, and that will lead him, I believe, to some interesting unfoldment of opportunities, because Now he's at the point where he's saying, okay, so now I've got this. What do I do with it? Now I've got these 12 posts, the first 12 posts of the newsletter. What do I do with it? And so now we're kind of going through this publishing and sharing strategy. And it goes back to the third element, the second element rather, which is the network. So now that he's identified who are the people who are the most actionable network members in his world, now he has something to talk about. Now he has something to go back out and say, look, I'm starting this newsletter. I'd love to get your feedback. It's kind of in beta state. What do you think? Is it relevant? Do you think there's anyone that you know who might be interested in this, who might benefit from some of this? And this is what kind of gets the conversation going. So it's all back to the methodology, all back to reaching out, having conversations, meeting more people, doing your pitch, listening to the way the pitch is landing. If people get excited about what you're saying, you're on a good track. If they kind of zone out and look off into the distance, then you got to kind of go back and reformulate it. So all of this stuff works together, and it's a fascinating process.
Sounds like he has the start of a book.
He may. So first things first. At the very least, he's got a manifesto. And he writes well. I mean, he's a marketer, right? So you would hope that he writes well. And he writes in parables, which I think is very, very engaging for this kind of thing, where he's talking about from the point of view of the person who is stuck in a situation, right? A business owner, a marketer, a client, right? The problems that they're facing. Looking at customer behavior, he talks about from the point of view of the customer. A couple walk into a store, right? That's how he'll start a post. So all of a sudden you're into the story. So he knows what he's doing, and he just hasn't had a voice to motivate it before. So anyway, I don't want to spend the whole time talking about this guy, but it's a great case study for us. So I'd be curious to hear other people's experiences and your thoughts now going into the new year about where you are and how you can maybe change up some of the ways in which you're engaging, no matter what career situation you're in, whether you are in a job, in a business, in between. Love to hear. Just jump in, Marty. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
And
just
then Carla,
thinking.
you took your mic off, so your mic on. Okay, go ahead, Marty.
No, it's a lot of good stuff. I'm thinking for me though, it really comes down to creating the product, having it.
Yes,
I mean, yes, networking and publishing and marketing, but you've got to have something
absolutely.
valuable. And
Starts
I
there.
have things in the works, and they're not done, and they're not ready to take out. And until I do that, I'm spinning,
Yeah. So question about that is, and I kind of know what you're doing, and for everyone's information, Marty is a filmmaker, and he's in the middle of a really interesting documentary project. Is there some product? Is there some stages of product? And I think I know that the answer is yes, where that you can, to a select group of the right people, get conversations going, right? Ask for advice, take these little mini steps to get into these conversations. I think it can be dangerous for us to turn too inward and back to what Patty was talking about in terms of imposter syndrome or perfectionism, that we think, oh, it's not ready yet. I want to wait until it's ready. And this goes back to the idea that I talk about a lot, which is confidence comes last. If you're waiting to feel confident about your work, your pitch, whatever it might be, you're doing yourself a disservice. You want to get out there in as safe away as possible with the people who will understand you and give you a break. But that's what's going to build the momentum and the confidence is when you get these interactions and people kind of go, I love this aspect of it. You really want to focus on this. I'm not so much interested in that aspect of it, but this is really strong. And I know that you and I have had this conversation on a previous call about the documentary project. So I would say keep going on it.
Yeah, that's valued, real important. I think you saw, I mean, I have a website now and trailers. I have a 6.5 minute sizzle trailer, whatever you call it,
Yeah.
which is good. Um, is that something I should try and get to Congress, or I don't know?
I think you should get it out to everyone, right? And 6 degrees, right? I mean, who knows, whom, right?
Right,
So,
right. I mean,
and one
yeah.
thing I would request that you do just selfishly is post it up on the mid-career lab community. Just put it up there.
Oh,
Do a post and just say, hey, I'm working on this documentary and got this trailer up and would love for you to take a look at it. And this is about Ukraine, so this is very topical.
yeah.
And I think a lot of people would be interested to see that. So wherever you have an opportunity to post it and get people to look at it, do it.
Now, when you say post it,
So yeah, just
how in the,
start a discussion thread. Just go into the
no, I
main.
mean in your
Yeah,
structure.
yeah,
Um, I guess I'm a member and it's
yeah.
something I
So you
can
just
post.
start a
Yeah.
post and you can click on the icon and post the video. If it's a link to a YouTube, if you've got it up on YouTube, then you can just post it right into the link
Oh
to
yeah.
the link, and it'll pop right up into the window there. So
Oh good. I'll do that.
voila, it's
Definitely.
amazing,
Thank
this
you. Yeah.
technology.
Yeah. It's like one old friend from school who I hadn't been in touch with somehow heard about the film, and then I said, "Well, I have this website." I sent it to him, and he said, "Oh, this is great," and let me send you some money. I didn't even ask.
Right, right.
So it's like, well, I should. Yeah, you're right. I got to
Yeah,
get out there. um,
absolutely,
so,
absolutely.
and yeah,
That's great.
I will post it and keep you up
That'd be
to
great. That'd be great.
this year.
Yay.
Thanks.
Carla.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, hear you loud and
Um,
clear.
Great. Yeah, sorry, I have to step out for a minute. And now somebody's ringing my doorbell literally as we speak.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, so I'm so sorry. I'm gonna have to
Yeah,
um
go answer the door and come back.
okay, will do.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So John, I took last year, 2025 off. It was I had retired in January of 2025, and so I wanted to reconnect with my kids and grandkids and so forth. And now it's time. I kept going with my podcast, but that was really the extent of it. It's now time that I want to get back into doing transition coaching, um, and I'm a little bit struggling with it. I thought I would be better at it. I think I get the component parts. Um, I think that I think the marketplace is pretty filled with coaches.
Hmm.
Um, and um, and oftentimes when you say transition coaching, that means that the person's out of work. That means that the person is really conscious of their funds. Um, so a little bit, it's been a bit more of a struggle than I thought. I
Yep,
still have a
I hear you.
client or two, but you see on LinkedIn these people that are making 20,000 a month, which a little bit I don't know if it's accurate or
May-
not, but
Maybe, maybe.
or maybe they
Yeah.
added a couple zeros to it. I don't know. So anyway, that's what this next year is to kind of figure out how to crack that code.
Yeah. I'm in the same bucket as you are. I think last year was a really just to kind of open the kimono a little bit, was a tough year because of AI, because of the economy. And now I see these posts on LinkedIn, which is basically one variation of, I put my resume into ChatGPT and I got 5 offers. And I think there's a line, there's a demarcation line on career. There's an early career, later career demarcation. And I think for early career, a lot of the automated systems, putting your resume into ChatGPT is fine. You're going up for execution roles, right? You're going up for learning roles. You're not going up for strategic roles. The challenge for older, more experienced professionals, and this is my niche. I'm not sure if this is the niche that you're also focusing on, but it gets much more complicated because experience is undervalued, strategy is misunderstood. There are a lot of ageism, of course, is rampant. There are a lot of considerations, and I think that the real important factor is rapport, building that rapport, building the understanding, because these things are not solved overnight at a mid-career or later level. These are longer processes. In order to be successful, you need to kind of build up some kind of a presence as a professional, telling this consistent message. It's hard for people who all of a sudden find themselves in transition, particularly in mid-career, such as the people that you're talking about and the people that I'm working with as well, and kind of go, well, you've been in this job for the last 5-10 years. What were you doing about your network, right? What were you doing about your professional voice? Well, not a whole hell of a lot, because I was working on my job. So there's a deficit there that has to be overcome. Harder to find those people who are willing to say, I understand this. I'm willing to take the time to work at it. They can certainly continue to look for jobs conventionally during that process. But for me, it's about an education process for that prospective client. And even then, people will say, oh man, I don't know. I just don't want to do the work. I can't do the work. It's too overwhelming. I understand, right?
Yeah, they'd rather use easy apply.
Right. And then they're thinking that, okay, if I'm just going to have to apply to 500 or 1,000 jobs. I'm just going to have to do it.
I had my first 500 application client a couple weeks ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's mind-boggling.
And they are convinced that they would rather do that and do that mind-numbing exercise every day, contort themselves into knots, rather than really reflect on what their unique accrued value is and find other people, right? Connect, have conversations. It's hard today, as isolated as we are as individuals, and here we all are trying to overcome that isolation through this online experience. It's ironic to me that we are all trying to find a way to break through this, and yet we hesitate. We hold back. We use this, these barriers as shields to kind of protect our vulnerability, and particularly if we're in transition. So, end of rant. I hear you, Tim. You were nodding about this.
Yeah, I'm wondering if you can hear me okay.
Yes, hear you great.
Okay, great.
Thank you for jumping in.
Yeah. So I am currently working, but I'm in a role where it's in a business development role where expectations are kind of nebulous in a lot of ways. And so in a lot of ways, I would like to stay at a position longer, but sometimes those choices aren't made for me. Some
Right.
choices are made for me.
Yeah.
So what I wanted to say is kind of my goal for the new year is to kind of do more of that networking, and kind of be more visible, um, to my peers and to other people that potentially are decision makers to hire me and that type of thing. Um, and so kind of the challenge comes into the fact that um, I'm mid career, probably late career, and I want to figure out, the best way to kind of do that, without it, without people going, well, are you looking for a job?
Right.
And so I'm just kind of trying to figure out the best way to do that,
Yeah.
without people going, well, are you looking for a job?
Yeah. Yeah.
When I'm really not looking for a job, I'm just really looking to kind of be more visible,
Yep.
obviously, and be more, you know, available just in case something happens. That
Right.
makes sense?
Right. Absolutely. I hear this a lot, and I have an answer. Um, Everyone who is in their job, and even if they're looking, they don't want to red flag it. Completely understandable. I think there's a really interesting synthesis here, and you may know something about my methodology, but I believe that the About section on LinkedIn is a great opportunity to create a mission statement. It's not a bio. It's not the listing of your accomplishments, the sectors that you serve, whatever. All that belongs in your experience section. The About section becomes who you are, why you do what you do, where you want to take your career, the value you want to deliver. I think that if you angle your profile towards doing a better job at the job you're doing, that serves to underscore your dedication, focus on your current job, but it also sends a signal to the world that you're a focused, quality, thoughtful, reflective individual. That might be attractive to someone else. Someone else might catch your profile and go, gee, I wonder if he'd be interested in talking to me about a position. It also helps you connect to other peers, allies, recruiters, hiring managers, whomever you're trying to connect to, rekindle old connections, make new connections, because it describes you in a way which is more personal, more identifiable. You're no longer identifying yourself purely in terms of the business skills, which tend to be kind of interchangeable. I mean, if you look at 10 business development executive profiles on LinkedIn, they're probably going to look a lot alike, right? The business might be different, the sector, whatever, but there's this kind of corporate word salad that everyone uses. Ditch that, be personal, relevant to your work, right? Talk about the value of the deal as the personal connection, thinking about the downstream value of that deal. It's not just about the numbers. It's about the effect on, customers, the retention of value in the business, whatever that might be. Share some of these deeper insights that you've learned over the years about why what you do is important. This helps you stand out. It also helps you start conversations with people. And that's really, to me, one of the most important aspects of this whole process is, and I've said this a lot on the call, get into conversation, reach out. Don't be a perfectionist about it. Be a vulnerable person. We're all in the same boat. We're all trying to kind of survive, get ahead, keep our jobs, get better jobs, feed our families, save for retirement. We're all in the same boat. So having that baseline can give you a little bit of a oomph and confidence to get out there and not ruffle the feathers at your company. In fact, the reverse, where they're going to go, wow, I like what you did to your LinkedIn profile. That really feels good. And you might say, yeah, the clients like it a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that is a great suggestion, really. I really appreciate that. And I hope that kind of what the other goal that I have for the new year is kind of help other people um, in their journeys, because a lot of my friends who worked in big company roles, um, 2025 was a tough year for them. Um, IT, a lot of IT professionals, a lot of high, higher management, people kind of, these companies kind of said, we really don't need the overhead.
Yeah.
And so I looked at it and I said, I really don't want to, obviously don't want to be in that position, but I like, I like to work. So I'm not at a point, even though I'm in my like early 60s, 61, I'm
Mm-hmm.
not in a, in the mindset that I want to kind of give up the game,
Right.
at all. So, yeah, so I really appreciate that suggestion. I hope I can help other people, on this group or in other roles,
Yeah.
just to kind of help them, um, you know, in my journey, help them, in their journey as well. So, Marty, get that
Sure
thing
you
out
will.
there,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Don't worry about technology. Just do your, get it out there. And I think you're right, is that we all try to be perfect on whatever we try to do. But in the end of the day, we all have struggles and we all have to kind of work through our insecurities.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, yeah, let's
Great.
get it done,
Great. Love it.
get it done. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much.
Thank
Tim,
you.
there's a podcast called Tectonic that addresses technical IT technical people in their search for jobs, and I've been on that podcast a number of times. But I'd recommend that to you as well, just to give you some additional data points. So just a
Great.
thought.
Great.
Yeah, well, if that can help other people, that'd be great. I'm not in the IT, obviously. Um, and but I think, I want to, obviously, I guess my point to being that is that a lot of them kind of gave up. I don't want to say gave up, but
Mm,
I don't I don't want to be the one to say I'm giving up on, a career, because I just enjoy that. And I also have other interests, obviously, but I want to make sure that I do, if I'm working for somebody, that I give them, you know, my attention and you know, my passion, obviously. So thank you. Thanks, Bob.
great.
Appreciate that.
Great.
And thanks,
Carla,
Tim. Yeah.
Carla,
Yeah, yeah.
third time's a charm.
Third time's a
Let's talk.
charm. Yeah, so this conversation has been really great. Every time I look down, I'm literally writing notes in my notebook. I am mid-career, but sometimes I feel like even though the time has gone by, I'm closer to the beginning of the of the line, in a sense. Like I run a little slower than everyone else, it seems. When the conversation about having a year plan and doing a review at the end of every year, most of I keep my notebooks from, or my planners from previous years, and it's mostly about what I do. It's like to-do list or what I've
Mm,
done, and not a lot of progression in terms of what I want to do, in terms of my career, in terms of my life, really. And right now I've been laid off. I was laid off back in early October, second layoff in 2 years. And, every time I get into a new position, it's like, okay, I want to do something, I want to move forward. And then for whatever reason, it doesn't happen. Market related issues regarding my last two layoffs.
Right.
And so, so I'm just here right now as I'm looking for work. I don't want to end up in the same situation that I just left. Continue to do the same thing over and over again, the same position, the same jobs, even if they're stable, which, I don't think there's any stability anymore. And, and also just the job search, sometimes I kind of revert back to my first real jobs where, I remember looking in the San Francisco Chronicle for jobs, printing out my resume. I had like a stack of resumes I got from, 5 cents a copy.
Those were the days.
The cotton paper, typing out the address and then getting a phone call within like the next week. And then an interview a couple of days later, one interview, and that was it.
Yeah.
And, and now going from that to, oh my God, I have to network. I have to put myself out there. I've done a couple of informational interviews with people that I know. And even though it's been great, I also kind of look at myself as like, Jesus, I didn't really do much for whatever reason. I mean, this is just my own, it's like, I wish I was able to do what they were able to do. And now I feel like I'm behind,
Right.
So that's where I am right now.
So I just want to say, getting laid off in the fourth quarter of any year is the worst, right? Because rarely is anyone hiring in the fourth quarter. But we are now in a new year, and you may find that there's a bit of an uptick in activity. People are past the holidays, all the considerations around that, end of year financials, whatever. January is typically a lot better time to look for a job than October. So just take that to heart.
Yes.
I think the fact that you have started some informational interviews is great. That is a really valuable tool to use. You want to meet as many people as possible and use your referral network as your primary investment. Continue to look for jobs, continue to apply for jobs. You never know what's going to happen. And then the third thing about it, back to your statement about looking through your planner, two things. One, do you journal at all separately from your planner?
I do, but not regularly, know.
So I always recommend that people start a regular 1 page a day stream of consciousness journal based on the book, The Artist's Way. I don't know if you're familiar with it. Julia Cameron kind of came up with this idea really as a way of helping artists get over writer's block and artistic block. The idea is that if you are just journaling whatever comes up, 1 page, longhand.
Yeah.
Here's my little Moleskine notebook.
Nice.
And whatever comes up. And if nothing's coming up, you're writing, nothing's coming up today. Why am I doing this stupid journal? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I had eggs and avocado for breakfast. And I'm going to go see my friend the other day and nothing is coming up. Why? And all of a sudden an idea will hit. All right. So worst case, you just write to fill that page. Gradually over time, things will start to pop. This is a way of you consciously connecting to the unconscious part of you that has a reservoir of value and knowledge and inspiration, comfort, purpose to share with you. That helps build ideas. You'll think, oh my God, I haven't talked to so-and-so in 5 years. I wonder what they're doing. And you call them up and they say, oh, I was just thinking about you. And you called. Oh, that's amazing. Something else will be going on. And who knows what comes from that? They have a friend. Right? These things happen in very strange ways. Again, conversations, get yourself out there. Back to the question of thought leadership and what you do, and having not had a chance to really be perhaps too intentional about the work. It's just like get the job, do the job. You now might want to take some time, and this again is what the journal is great at, to reflect on. So what do I love about what I do, right? Where have I really enjoyed it? The first question I often ask in an initial coaching session with someone is, when did you have the most fun in your work life? And people will say, oh, there was this job I had, it was great. And then they'll go on about that. I'm going, yes, this is what we're trying to recapture. So focus on these positive integrated moments where you were doing your best work, where you felt supported, where you felt inspired, motivated. Maybe you haven't had a job like that, but now is an opportunity for you to think about, what would that job be? Set that intention. Imagine in your mind, visualize what that job would be like. Continue to refine this image. Talk about it with people. Share this vision that you have for yourself. You will build up a sense of focus, determination, purpose, ambition. And when you find yourself in a job interview and you start talking about this, it won't be kind of off the cuff. So tell me about yourself. Oh shit, I got to answer that stupid question again. No, you will know what you want to talk about. You can't wait for them to ask you that question, because you can't wait to share this value that you want to provide. And they may say, oh my God, that's just what we're looking for. Or you really bring something extra to the job. That's great. They may say, huh, interesting. That has nothing to do with what we're about, right? Fine, check them off. Or they may say, look, you've just kind of opened my eyes. You're actually not right for this job, but I know someone that you have to meet, and they're going to know what to do with you, right? So again, expression is so crucial here, and figuring out how to express, how to pitch, find that center where you really want to live, and begin to use all of these tools to prepare for the opportunities.
Nice. Thank you.
Sally.
Yeah, I just wanted to add a small reflection on that. Since I started working with you, John, as I said to you, I think sort of, what would it be, 4 or 5 years ago, I didn't have a clue what networking actually was. And it was only through you that I learned what it was. And I think I look at myself now, and I'm far less hung up on making an outreach to somebody and there not being a positive response, because I feel the only responsibility that I have is to be polite and confident and not too pushy. And if I'm sure that that's what I've done, then if someone wants to reply, then great, brilliant. It's a win for me and hopefully for the other person. If they don't, then they don't. That's it. What can I do? Nothing lost. But I'm less hesitant about, oh, what will they say? What will they think? I do care, of course, but I care less.
Right. Right. Well, or you're not taking it personally, or you're not taking
personally,
it as a
that's
judgment,
better rather
right?
than saying I care
It's just
less.
differences, right? People are different.
And I think that comes with kind of experience. And a couple of days ago, I was looking at a law firm, which I'm quite interested in working at. I saw a role there back in October, but I didn't apply because I contacted the hiring manager, and she said that the role was based about 6 hours away and I had to be there rather than in Edinburgh where I am. So that's by the by. But I saw that one of the people that was working there was an old schoolmate of mine. So I thought, I don't actually have a connection at this firm where I'm keeping my eyes on. Let me reach out. And I thought, I'll just make a polite message, an old schoolmate. I know you were in Dubai before I was the Middle East type thing. I'm interested in the firm that you're working at. How is it type thing? And she wrote back and said she was actually moving on to a different law firm. And she's like, oh, we should meet. And she gave me her phone number. So we're going to speak in a couple of weeks. So that's just a short story to say I wasn't pushy, but I was positive, and it's another networking opportunity. Somebody in a similar position to me, having come back to Scotland from working in the Middle East, who perhaps has faced similar sorts of challenges and getting yourself reacquainted with the culture, it will be nice to bounce ideas off each other. Now, that's a personal story, but it just shows if I'd been perfectionist, which I have the tendency to do at times, then I would have lost out. That's a bit of a ramble to make that baseline point.
No, it's a great story. It's a great story because you never know, right? And you never know. And
well, that's it.
And the fact that she's now moving on to a new position in a new company, right? I mean, that brings up all sorts of stuff. She now kind of bridges two possible connections for you, right? To possible companies. I mean, who knows what the networking opportunity is there?
Well, that's it, yeah. And it's just a point of personal progress about not being perfectionist, and it served me well.
Exactly. Great. So we have time for one more question. We're at time. Marty, take us home.
Not to end darker, but talking about what's important and what you really feel your values. We're in this world right now where it's falling apart, terrible things are being done, and it's unclear how we can affect that. But I feel we have to do something. Everybody has to. So whatever we're doing, whatever the job is, we have to do something to save the world. So I'm mixing that in, with everything else I'm doing, and that's sort of opening a big discussion, but I thought I'd insert that.
I think it's appropriate, and I'll just say, kind of to reframe this for this context, is that saving the world begins with yourself, right? Yeah. So save yourself first, and then save the world next. So I think all we can do, and all of the factors of entropy and change, negativity, if you want to see it that way, that are upon us, it is a challenge, but and this is why we're all together on the call here and in this community and in the other communities that we're in, because the power of that community is real, and the power of our support for one another is real. And for all of us, each and every one of us on the call, to end the call now, and for those who are going to watch the recording, when you're done, the call to action is do that thing that's going to connect you to someone else, whatever it is, whether it's about your career, your family, your friends. Build those connections. That's where it starts. And everything else is going to fall from that. It's going to come together from that. So awkwardly stated message, but to kind of pivot off of what you're saying, combating the forces of negativity, being positive, being constructive, being in community, supporting one another, using that inspiration. Let's go do it.
I like it.
And we'll see you next month.
Okay. Thank you, John.
Thanks,
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate you showing up.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.